Modern science says, the sun is the past, the earth is the present, the moon is the future. From an incandescent mass we have originated, and into a frozen mass we shall turn. Merciless is the law of nature, and rapidly and irresistibly we are drawn to our doom. Having the same dream again and again is a well-known phenomenon. Nearly two-thirds of the population report having recurring dreams, being chased, finding yourself naked in a public place or in the middle of a natural disaster, losing your teeth, or forgetting to go to class for an entire semester or typical recurring scenarios in these dreams. From a child's point of view, what is the purpose of TV advertising? Is advertising on TV done to give actors the opportunity to take a rest or practice their lines? Or is it done to make people buy things? Furthermore, is the main difference between programs and commercials that commercials are for real whereas programs are not? Or that programs are for kids and commercials for adults? As a child, You might dream one day of becoming an astronaut and, the next day, of becoming a ballet dancer. The possibilities are endless. Eventually, this wealth of choice is whittled down by external circumstances and internal interests. Similarly, precursor cells in early embryos make a series of stepwise decisions governed by external forces and internal factors to generate the diverse array of cell types present in adult organisms. The speaker reminisces about his views of the English Revolution when he was a student and how it seemed quite clear which side he was on. The aristocrats, not the Puritans. Later he realized there was more to it than that, and there were several ways of interpreting the revolution. As a struggle between the king and parliament, as a class war, or as an unpredictable situation without clear sides. An economic depression is a period of sustained, long-term downturn in economic activity in one or more economies. It is more severe than a recession, which is a slowdown in economic activity over the course of a normal business cycle. Economic depressions are characterized by their length and by abnormally large increases in the unemployment rate. History is selective. What history books tell us about the past is not everything that happened, but what historians have selected. They cannot put in everything. Choices have to be made. Choices must similarly be made about which aspects of the past should be formally taught to the next generation in the shape of school history lessons. Nell says that, in order to seek protection from their furry foes, birds actually prefer to build their nests in plots of swamp with a resident alligator. In fact, in one study a graduate student planted fake alligators. The birds seem to prefer to build nests close to them, where there's a water source. There are alligators, so it's sort of this mode of protection around these colonies. Over time a split would have appeared in wolf populations. He says those wolves that feared humans and those that didn't. So this would have facilitated, I think, the domestication process, at which point humans deliberately took wolves as pets. But that domestication process, France says, may have happened more than once. First in the West in Europe, and again in the Far East in Asia. In multilingual countries, code mixing, the use of more than one variety in the same utterance or sentence, and code switching, the use of different languages or varieties between sentences, is common and natural, despite its frequency, or perhaps because of it. Some scholars and self-appointed guardians of linguistic morality view both code mixing and code switching as a sign of linguistic deficiency. Before the discovery of Australia, people in the Old World were convinced that all swans were white, an unassailable belief as it seemed completely confirmed by empirical evidence. The sighting of the first black swan might have been an interesting surprise for a few scientists, but that is not where the significance of the story lies. A team has developed Smellicopter, an autonomous drone that uses a live antenna from a moth to navigate toward smells. The Smellicopter can also sense and avoid obstacles as it travels through the air. Neural networks are some of the most important tools in AI. So far, They run on traditional processors in the form of adaptive software, but experts are working on an alternative concept, the neuromorphic computer. In this case, neurons are not simulated by software but reconstructed in hardware components. A team of researchers has now demonstrated a new approach to such hardware, targeted magnetic waves that are generated and divided into micrometry-sized wafers. Blue is the most popular color. Food researchers disagree. When humans searched for food, they learned to avoid toxic or spoiled objects, which were often blue, black, or purple. When food dyed blue is served to study subjects, they lose appetite. Few things in the world produce such amazement as one's first glimpse of the Grand Canyon. It took around more than 2 billion years to create this vast wonder. In some places, 17 miles wide, largely through the relentless force of Colorado River, which runs 277 miles along its length, a mile beneath its towering rims. A unique characteristic of online shopping environments is that they allow vendors to create retail interfaces with highly interactive features. One desirable form of interactivity from a consumer perspective is the implementation of sophisticated tools to assist shoppers in their purchase decisions by customizing the electronic shopping environment to their individual preferences. Every morning, no matter how late he had been up, my father rose at 5:30, went to his study, wrote for a couple of hours, made us all breakfast, read the paper with my mother, and then went back to work for the rest of the morning. Many years passed before I realized that he did this by choice, for a living, and that he was not unemployed or mentally ill. This country might possess a sizable rural population, but have an economic system in which the interests of the voters were predominantly related to their incomes, not to their occupations or location. And in such a country, the political system would be unlikely to include an important agrarian party. The purpose of the informative speech is to provide interesting, useful, and unique information to your audience. By dedicating yourself to the goals of providing information and appealing to your audience, you can take a positive step towards succeeding in your efforts as an informative speaker. Companies will want to be known not just for the financial results they generate, but equally for the imprint they leave on society as a whole. First, ensuring that their products contribute positively. Second, operating in a way that approaches a net neutral impact on the natural environment. And third, cherishing their people. Scientists studying brain scans of people who were asked to come up with inventive uses for everyday objects found a specific pattern of connectivity that correlated with the most creative responses. Researchers were then able to use that pattern to predict how creative other people's responses would be based on their connections in this network. Human activities are exposing us rivers and streams to a cocktail of salts with consequences for infrastructure and drinking water supplies. So reports a new study that is the first to assess the combined, long-term changes in freshwater salinity and alkalization across the country. We've been training fewer teachers in recent years while the population has been increasing and a very large cohort of teachers, the baby boomer teachers, are nearing retirement. So all three of those things have converged to create what I think is going to be an even greater problem in coming years to what it is now. So we've got a lot of work to do, a very rapid catch-up. It isn't rare for private equity houses to hire grads fresh out of business school, he said, but 9 times out of 10, the students who nab these jobs are the ones who had private equity experience under their belt before even starting their MBA program. For any marketing course that requires the development of a marketing plan, such as marketing management, marketing strategy and segmentation support marketing, This is the only planning handbook that guides students through the step-by-step creation of a customized marketing plan while offering commercial software to aid in the process. The semiconductor industry has been able to improve the performance of electronic systems for more than 4 decades by making ever smaller devices. However, this approach will soon encounter both scientific and technical limits, which is why the industry is exploring a number of alternative device technologies. Scientific studies show that by age 3 there is a gap in brain development between kids who read aloud and those who do not, and children from low-income families are disproportionately impacted by this gap. Making sure all parents know the importance of reading aloud to their children is critical to closing the achievement gap. Hundreds of millions of American people eat fast food every day without giving it too much thought, unaware of the subtle and not-so-subtle ramifications of their purchases. They just grab their tray off the counter, find a table, take a seat, unwrap the paper, In Diggin, the whole experience is transitory and soon forgotten. This year the National Environmental Science Competition received excellent undergraduate and postgraduate entries from all across the country with a wide range of projects. We are delighted that our awards are encouraging exciting and valuable projects that go beyond research and analysis to develop solutions for a number of key problems. Information about the shortlisted projects will be posted on our website in the first week of June. Perhaps the most measurable benefit of the program has been the opportunity to meet in small groups, something that is difficult to arrange in such a desperate organization. Many officers would have to work together for 30 years but would not know other strengths and weaknesses.